Richard Staynings is a globally renowned thought leader, author, public speaker and advocate for improved cybersecurity across the healthcare and life sciences industry, an industry in which he's focused for much of his career. With more than 25 years of experience, CIO, CISO, CRO, CTO, partner and principal are some of the titles Richard has held or continues to hold. Okay, I'm lucky enough this afternoon to be joined by Richard Staynings, Chief Security Strategist at Cylera. Richard, a pleasure to meet with you.
Pleasure too. Thank you, Rebecca.
No worries at all. Richard, can you please describe to me the day-to-day of your role and also challenges that you face within the IT industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So like many people at my level, I wear many hats. I'm Chief Security Strategist, as you said, for Cylera, which is a company that focuses on solving many of the medical device security problems and other healthcare IoT security problems across the healthcare provider industry. I'm also a partner with Cyber Associates, which is advising governments around the world on their cybersecurity strategy. And finally, I'm an adjunct professor of cybersecurity at University College Denver, where I teach various aspects of cybersecurity and health informatics, mainly at the postgraduate level. As a leader in healthcare IoT security, I'm working with hospital and health systems leaders to address their medical device security risks and how to better manage those risks in an automated manner. As a thought leader and strategist in the space, I'm called to speak at many events and also to brief ministers and industry leaders in their cybersecurity posture. And as a lecturer, I hope at least that I'm helping to train the next generation of security leaders. The fact is that cybersecurity threats have increased massively over the past 2 decades as industry, education, and government have digitalized their services, manufacturing and business workflows, and this introduces enterprise risks. Risks to protecting the confidentiality of non-public data, IP and commercial trade secrets, for example, regulated data subject to GDPR, where there's a substantial cost of loss when a breach occurs, risks to the integrity of data, that important data hasn't been changed, criminal records, credit reports, or more concerningly, our medical records containing our blood type, allergies, treatment history, etc., where medical decisions are based upon the validity and integrity of the data presented. And finally, risks to the availability of data and IT systems which host that data for us. We all saw what happened in 2017 when WannaCry, a North Korean ransomware, took down much of the British NHS and caused surgeries and other appointments to be cancelled, ambulances placed in divert, and caused a lot of problems to the UK government and the UK population alike. Had something like the Russian NotPetya attack hit the NHS, which came about a month later, it truly would have been devastating for the whole country and any other country impacted by such an attack. This was, a far more powerful and destructive attack that took down many of the world's top corporations and caused at least $10 billion in damages.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, thanks, Richard. And yeah, it does sound like you wear quite a few hats. Absolutely. And according to Cisco, that the number of connected devices surpassed the global human population in 2008. And then, this year alone will easily break the 50 billion barrier. So, what do you think this means for the future of IT?
Well, according to that Cisco report, I believe they were predicting that we would exceed the 1 trillion connected device number sometime in this decade. So we have a lot more devices being added to the network, the internet, in this case, at an exponential rate. Plainly, humans are in the minority now, right? The number of connected devices has exceeded the global human population. So as long as we don't become subservient to the technology that we've built, then I think we stand a good chance. Though self-aware AI and things like Skynet are many years off. So I don't think we have anything to be worried about for this generation anyway. Maybe our grandchildren's generation will have more concerning things to worry about. But today, I think this raises questions around how do we manage our connected devices and what information do we trust to them? For example, many households today have one or more Google Nest, Amazon Echo, or other listening devices, which are always on, such as Siri on our phones, for example. These are always listening for keywords such as "Hey Siri" to activate and respond to an instruction. But they're also listening to our private conversations. And although you can turn off these learning features, most people never do so, even if they could figure out, how to do so on page 123 of the instruction manual that no one ever reads. This obviously has privacy concerns if you work in a regulated industry like healthcare or law or financial services, etc. It also affects non-regulated businesses if your staff are working from home on company business, as commercial trade secrets could be compromised. The issue is not only that Google, Amazon, or Apple may potentially be listening to your conversations, but these dumb devices can be easily hacked and used as a listening device by a government agency or by criminals. Many are also optimized to connect to the best internet signal. So if your neighbor has a similar device and faster bandwidth, your connection could be using your neighbor's connection and vice versa. But the issue is not just listening home speakers, it's all kinds of home automation, that home thermostats that you use to control from your smartphone, for example, or the camera doorbell that tells you who's at the door to your home, the CCTV cameras that records who drops off packages at your front porch and potentially who steals them after the delivery man has gone, to the nanny cams and the Roomba that maps out your floor plan and vacuums up when you're out of the house. Imagine the value of the data that these things collect on all of us. All of these home devices need to be on their own separate out-of-band network, not the same one you use for work or the same one that you use for your home banking, because plainly they can be easily compromised and can introduce risks to the rest of your network and the rest of your IT. But it's not just about home, smart connected IoT systems that are a problem. It's the lifts, the elevators in your office building. These are probably connected to the internet, managed by a company hundreds of kilometers away. So too may the HVAC, the air conditioning and heating system in your building. And that is often tied in with lighting and electronic door locks and all kinds of other things. Again, these are managed by third parties today in many organizations. What would happen to a hospital patient workflow if lifts were disabled by a cyber attack? How would patients be transported on a gurney between the emergency room and the operating room, or post-operative recovery, for example? They certainly can't take the staircase. What would happen to COVID or other highly communicable airborne disease control if the HVAC were reversed and negative airflow rooms became positive? It's also about smart cars that tell us when to make a turn or advise on the current speed limit or the presence of traffic cameras. These can and have been hacked to disable power steering or the brakes, or to distract the driver with a swarm of problems while driving. For example, in some of the cases we've seen, the radio comes on full blast, or the heating comes on full blast in the height of summer, or the windows open automatically. These distracting problems could obviously cause an accident. Our addiction with connected gadgets goes way beyond the immediate beneficial advantages. It extends to kids' toys that learn their owner's voice and name and age and address. They can and have been hacked so that total strangers can have conversations with your small children, so long as they can pick up the Bluetooth signal. We need to think about what we purchase and how we secure these seemingly innocuous devices before they're used against us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's really interesting. Thank you, Richard, with all those examples as well. That's very, very true. And I suppose finally, in your opinion, what does the future hold for connectivity? And, how do you see us dealing with the, ever increasing cyber attacks?
Well, plainly, we're becoming ever more connected at work, at home, at play, and in our cars. Convenience is unfortunately trumping common sense in many cases, and our need for instant gratification is worsening. How many of us, especially men, ever read the manual before plugging in and connecting a device to our home network? I would suggest very few. How many of us change the default username and password of any of our home routers, let alone toys that we bring home? When was the last time you downloaded a security update for your home router and patched it? When was the last time you searched the vendor site for security updates to any of your connected toys or gadgets and applied them? connected home automation toys have also been used very successfully for hacking and used by burglars to map out times when the home is empty before breaking in. They obviously contain information that may not be apparent to the owners of those devices, but which are very apparent to criminals that may be able to access that information and use to their own advantages. Many doorbells and thermostats in particular have been used to infiltrate home networks unless fully segmented and plant ransomware or steal highly personal information from people's home computers. The trouble is that most vendors of IoT connected devices are only concerned with selling you the device, not evaluating on an ongoing basis the security vulnerabilities and threats and pushing patches to your device for you. You're lucky if they even make a patch available for you to apply yourself, even if you knew how to do so. This is as true for a €100 Roomba vacuum cleaner as it is for the 10 million euros CT scanner at your local hospital. We need better ways of managing risk in this growing area of IT, of identifying what is connected to our networks, the risk each device poses, and to remediate risks via patching or compensating security controls such as network segmentation. We also need to do a much better job of regulating manufacturers of these devices to design in better security from the outset, and then to automatically push patches when vulnerabilities are discovered through the entire lifespan of each device, whether that's 20 days or 20 years, and to publish that information so that users are aware of what they can expect, whether that's 20-day support from the vendor or whether it's longer. And this obviously feeds into your purchasing decisions. If you're in a store and there are two devices that do very similar things, one has a 10-year lifespan with complete patches, and the other has a 1-year lifespan or a 20-day lifespan with 20 days of support from the vendor, which would you choose? Certainly given similar pricing. We'd soon find that unpopular disposable devices would disappear from stores, I suspect. We also need to get away from the currently environmentally disastrous practice of throwing away cheap IoT devices at will and filling our landfills with these devices, replacing them with newer versions that perhaps are more secure with better functionality. We need patches, we need updates, and we need responsible vendors and government to take a mandate on this. Our landfills will begin to overflow otherwise with mercury, silver, zinc, plastics, and a heap of these other things leaching into our groundwater supply as we continue on our disposable journey. Our addiction to connectivity is not about to decline anytime soon, I would wager. So we need to learn how to deal with and how to keep our homes, families, and places of work secure given this trend. We also need an effective continuity plan for the day that we lose connectivity. How would kids do homework without the internet today? How could we work from home without connectivity to the office or the cloud? How would Tesla owners open their cars or drive them home from the office when the internet is down? We've seen examples of this, of Tesla owners locked out of their cars when the cloud that controls access to their cars goes down. What happens then when the HVAC is hit with ransomware and temperature drops in the depths of winter? How do doctors and nurses diagnose, treat, monitor, and manage patients when all of their connected IT and IoT systems are down? How many nurses or doctors under 50 could successfully chart a patient today using a pencil and a pad? I suspect very few. Right now, we don't have effective business continuity plans for any of this stuff. And cyber criminals know this and are all too willing to exploit this for monetary gain. The only reason pariah nation states like Russia, China, and North Korea don't attack the connected critical infrastructure of Western countries is the knowledge that the West has far more powerful cyber tools that would ensure that crippling and devastating cyber attack. These are things that we need to consider as we evaluate our addiction to connectivity, as we evaluate our addiction to cheap disposable IoT assets that we connect to our home networks. And we need to evaluate the security implications of these devices before pulling the trigger.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Richard, I mean, you've obviously got a wealth of knowledge and experience there. So I really appreciate the time you've taken to speak with me today. And yeah, hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. And thank you for inviting me.
Thanks, Richard. Cheers.